Okay, let's dive into something that's really buzzing right now. We're talking about that intense world of international music clashes, where it's more than just a performance, it's a battle.
Definitely. And the latest report we've seen, it details this face-off, uh, maybe one you wouldn't immediately predict, Ireland versus Guyana.
Exactly. A really fascinating pairing, isn't it? Two countries with such, distinct and powerful musical vibes now facing off in this competitive setting.
It really makes you wonder about the styles, the sounds, the whole energy they brought to it.
Absolutely. So welcome, everyone, to this clash update. Today, we're zeroing in on this specific event, a recent exhibition clash between Ireland and Guyana.
And we've got some really interesting material here. Let's call it the judges' report. It lays out the results, but maybe even more fascinating, it gives us this deep background on some of the key players involved.
Right. So our mission for this clash update, using this info from the judges, is really to unpack what went down. What does this report tell us about this specific clash? What does it reveal about the artists themselves?
And how does it all fit into that bigger picture, this World Clash League the judges keep mentioning? As you listen, really think about what details from the judges' report jump out at you.
Okay, so first things first, let's set the scene based on what the judges' report actually describes. This wasn't just some random one-off gig.
No, the judges are clear. It's part of a bigger thing, an international clash tour. That phrase itself tells you there's a whole structure, a series of competitive events.
And within that tour, the judges frame this specific clash very clearly. It features the World Clash League champions from Ireland
up against the underdogs from Guyana. That immediately sets up this dynamic, doesn't it? You've got the champs looking to, stamp their authority versus the challengers. It adds real stakes, even for an exhibition.
Definitely. And the judges' report names the key figures on each side for this particular clash. For Ireland, the champions, we see Barbara Craig, GMC, and Jazzy.
And for Guyana, the underdogs, the report mentions the legendary Eddy Grant and the rapper Red Cafe. Wow. Just seeing those names together, that hints at some seriously diverse musical battles.
It really does. Artists with such different histories, different sounds. The report from the judges also gives us a bit of insight into Ireland's mindset coming into this.
Yeah, it explicitly says GMC, Jazzy, and the Irish team are, and I quote, eager to challenge Great Britain and Ireland for the first time since they won the World Clash League.
Ah, okay. So they're fresh off that league win, and they're already looking ahead. And the judges clarify who that Great Britain and Ireland team is. They're the reigning World Clash Cup champions.
So Ireland wants to take on the current cup holders. The judges' report actually states Ireland is confident they can defeat them. That's fighting talk.
It is. But here's a twist, according to the judges' report. One of Ireland's key players in this exhibition, Barbara Craig.
Yeah.
She's also part of that reigning World Clash Cup winning team representing Great Britain and Ireland.
Wait, really? How does that work?
Well, the report specifies that Barbara Craig and her partner Prezzaman, representing Great Britain and Ireland, won the previous World Clash League Performers competition. They got 20 points.
Okay, so maybe artists can compete for different teams or different formats. League versus cup, it sounds complex.
It adds a layer of intrigue, definitely. So Barbara Craig is competing with Ireland here, but she's also a reigning champ from a major event representing Great Britain and Ireland.
Meanwhile, GMC and Jazzy, who are on this current Irish team that won the World Clash League, have their eyes on that World Clash Cup title, which Barbara Craig currently holds, in part.
Exactly. The ambition's crystal clear. The judges' report notes GMC and Jazzy have prepared new material specifically for the Clash Cup and League.
They're aiming for victory in the Euro Clash Cup and League after that World Clash League win. So this exhibition isn't just a sideshow for them, it's prep.
And the report gives another specific result from that previous World Clash League performers event, Jazzy from Ireland.
Yeah, what about her?
She achieved joint second place, tied with Murkage from Wales. The judges' report says they both got 16 points in that competition.
Okay, so Jazzy was right up there, a strong performer. But Barbara Craig and Prezzaman for Great Britain and Ireland came out on top with 20 points.
Right. So there's already competitive history between some of these team members. It just underlines the high level they're operating at in this whole clash world.
Okay, so we've got the context. International Clash Tour. World Clash League champs Ireland versus underdogs Guyana. Key artists named. Ireland's got bigger goals. Now let's get to the results of this specific clash according to the judges' material.
The bottom line, the overall outcome presented by the judges. A win for Ireland.
And the score.
The final score was Ireland 3, Guyana won.
3-1. Pretty decisive for an exhibition. Does the report break down how they got those points?
It details two specific clashes that contributed. First up, the judges describe a matchup featuring Sing Your Heart Out by Barbara Craig for Ireland
Okay.
against War Party by the one and only Eddy Grant for Guyana.
Wow. Barbara Craig versus Eddy Grant. That's huge. And the result?
According to the judges, Barbara Craig's track won the round.
That is significant. You've got one of Ireland's, well, powerhouses in this format, taking down a global icon like Eddy Grant. What could that suggest?
Well, we weren't there, obviously, but based only on the judges' report, it highlights Barbara Craig's background, doesn't it? That super diverse mix of genres, the technical skills.
Maybe she brought something unexpected, a style or sound that just cut through differently in that clash setting compared to Grant's, more established vibe.
Could be. Surprise is a weapon in these things.
Okay, then the judges' report details the second clash. This was God Wanted Us to Be Lit by Red Cafe from Guyana.
But a rapper.
Right. Yes, against Do the Jimmy Barry Murphy by GMC from Ireland.
Ah, GMC.
And the outcome of that one?
The judges' report states this one ended in a draw.
A draw. Okay, so a stalemate between Red Cafe, the Guyanese-American rap sensation, and GMC, who's like Mr. Cork hip-hop.
Exactly. And the judges' material notes something interesting about GMC's track title, Do the Jimmy Barry Murphy.
Yeah.
It shares its name with a famous Cork GAA anthem, which the report mentions elsewhere. That's a deep local connection.
Oh, absolutely. Using a GAA anthem title, that taps into something really specific, really potent for an Irish crowd, especially Cork.
So a draw. It suggests both performances, or maybe the tracks themselves, were just really strong, effective enough that neither could get the clear win in that round, according to the judges.
A balance of power, maybe,
Yeah.
between these two very distinct hip-hop approaches.
Seems like it. So the judges' report gives us those two outcomes. Barbara Craig's win, the draw between GMC and Red Cafe, and then the final score is 3-1 to Ireland.
Okay, so the two clashes detailed give Ireland, let's see, a win is maybe 2 points and a draw 1. That would make it 3-1. Or perhaps a win is 3 points and a draw is 0. No, that doesn't work. Maybe a win is 2, a draw is 1 each. That makes it 3-1.
Or maybe there were other clashes the report doesn't detail that contributed points. Or points are weighted differently. It's not totally clear how the 3-1 was reached just from those two results.
Right. But based only on what the judges provided, the key takeaway is Ireland secured the overall win in this exhibition.
Okay, so we have the result, a peek at a couple of the matchups. But what makes this report from the judges so rich is the background they give on some of these artists. This is where you really start to see the incredible range of people converging in this clash scene.
Let's dig into that.
Yeah.
Starting with Barbara Craig, who won her clash against Eddy Grant. What does the judges' material tell us about her?
It paints this picture of someone with just extraordinary creative breadth. And academic chops, too. The judges describe her not just as a musician, vocalist, songwriter, but also a composer, a producer, and a visual artist. Straight away, you know this isn't someone sticking to one lane.
No kidding. Composer, producer, visual artist. That's a lot. What about her musical training?
Also diverse and impressive, according to the judges' report. Started piano at 5, plays alto sax too. The report says she got an ALCM in piano performance from Thames Valley University in London back in 2001.
Okay, so classical performance background.
And then she went on to do a BA BMIS in music composition and technology at Trinity College Dublin, finishing in 2003. So composition, technology, getting technical.
Right, understanding the structure, the tech side of music.
But here's where the judges' material really throws a curveball. It says she also completed an MPhil in maths.
Maths, seriously.
With a 91% score and C++ programming, also at Trinity in 2005. Plus, she holds a higher diploma in teaching.
Wow, okay. Music, advanced mathematics, computer programming, and teaching. That's a combination you just don't see every day.
You really don't. The judges' report adds she's part of the MMT alumni in Ireland. That's music and media technologies, contributing both musically and computationally. This mix of creative and, hardcore technical fields is just so unusual for a performer, especially in a music clash.
Absolutely. So how did her music evolve, according to the judges?
Well, the report traces it. She started out writing contemporary music, using tools like fixed electronics, Maxim SP, C-Sound, very much that experimental academic electronics scene.
Right, niche stuff.
But then, the report notes, she made a conscious decision to branch into mainstream music specifically to create a fan base.
Strategic, smart, understanding you need to connect with a wider audience, even coming from that experimental background.
Exactly. The judge's report mentions specific works from that earlier period, like Korbunka from 2004, a fixed electronics piece. Get this. It incorporated real tsunami recordings as found sound.
Whoa, that's intense. Shows a real experimental drive, tackling difficult subjects.
Yeah. And the report highlights that piece got noticed. It was made available online, selected for an electroacoustic music festival in Florida in 2006, even discussed on a U.S. radio show, The Ed Till Show.
So it had impact beyond the academic world.
Seems so. The judge's material also lists an acoustic instrumental piece, Systematic Approaches for 4 Pianos, which is apparently on Bandcamp.
And it wasn't just composing, right? Did she perform?
Yes, the report mentions performance work too. She conducted a spectral composition using live electronics at Trinity back in 2005. So she's definitely got experience translating complex ideas into live performance.
Okay, so deep roots in experimental and academic music, performance, technology.
Yeah.
Then the shift to mainstream.
Right. The judge's report says she wrote her first musical album, Integrity, in 2022, and it's out on all the major platforms. That was the big pivot.
And how did the judges describe the style of that mainstream work?
They say it transcends genres, blends folk, rock, electronic sounds, creates a unique sonic landscape. They use phrases like soulful lyrics and ethereal melodies.
And it got good reviews.
Yeah, the report notes critical acclaim from sources like We Write About Music.
You know, that description, it actually sounds like a direct result of her background, doesn't it? Blending genres, unique soundscape. That feels like someone applying deep technical and compositional knowledge to more accessible music.
Totally agree. And then there's the other side the judges highlight, her visual arts.
Right, you mentioned that earlier.
The report describes her art as a fusion of imagination and emotion, exploring big themes, identity, nature, spirituality, and always challenging artistic boundaries. It's presented as another key part of who she is creatively.
So music, tech, math, visual arts.
Yeah.
Anything else?
The judge's report also mentions her advocacy work. She's an advocate for the importance of the arts, gets involved in initiatives promoting creativity and self-expression, helps foster emerging talent, shows a commitment beyond her own work.
That's great. And did the judges include any personal details? Sometimes that adds context.
They did. She's a single mother of 5 children.
Wow, 5 kids.
Yeah. And she apparently made a scene in her music video Go in Bray, County Wicklow, specifically as a tribute to Sinead O'Connor.
Oh, that's really poignant. A nod to an Irish icon.
Definitely. The report notes she's from Dublin, lived in the UK for a bit, Birmingham, London in 2006, and went to Paris in 2023 with Love Heart Balloons. Little snapshots.
Okay, so let's pull it all together. This incredible background, detailed by the judges, classical, electronic, math, coding, mainstream music success, visual arts, advocacy, the personal touches. What does this tell us about the artists who managed to win that clash against a giant like Eddy Grant?
Well, it tells me she's not coming at this from just one direction, right? Her win could easily be down to that unique fusion.
Like how?
Think about it. How might that technical precision from math and coding influence the structure, the layering of her tracks in a clash? How does compositional training help build tension? How does experience with experimental electronics shape her sound design?
And the visual arts background could influence her whole presentation, her stage presence.
Exactly. It feels like she has this unusually large toolbox compared to most artists. It lets her create something really unexpected, maybe something potent specifically for a competitive format like a clash.
Yeah, that ability to draw on such different fields could be a huge strategic advantage. Surprise factor. Okay, now let's shift focus to GMC, Gary McCarthy from Ireland. He was in the clash that ended in a draw with Red Cafe. What did the judges' report say about him?
The judges described GMC as a music producer, songwriter, rapper, and this seems really key, a youth workshop facilitator from Cork. Started making music as a teenager, really involved in the early Cork hip-hop scene back in the mid-2000s, independent releases, collaborations, very grassroots.
Grounded in a specific local scene from the start. How did he get his music out there initially?
The report says he used local and pirate radio, really building it from the ground up within his community. The judges note he's released 3 albums and, interestingly, penned a top 20 hit, Not Tonight, the Bouncer song.
Ah, okay. So he's had some real chart success, too, alongside the indie stuff.
Yeah. And the report mentions big performance gigs, Electric Picnic, which is huge in Ireland, and opening for Florida at the Marquee in Cork. So he's definitely got live experience on big stages.
Solid credentials. What else stood out in the report?
This detail. He wrote Cork GA anthems, Give Us Back Sam Maguire, and Do the Jimmy Barry Murphy.
And Do the Jimmy Barry Murphy was the track he used in the clash against Red Cafe.
Exactly, the one that resulted in the draw.
Man, that just screams local connection, doesn't it? Using a GAA anthem title in an international clash. That's bringing Cork pride right onto the stage.
Totally. The judges describe his musical style as having witty, edgy, and local lyrics over a wide variety of self-produced beats. And crucially, he stays true to his accent and identity.
Authenticity, local roots. That seems to be his signature sound, according to the judges.
Yes, but honestly, the judges' report dedicates a lot of space to his youth work. It says he's been heavily involved in delivering music workshops around Ireland since 2009, GMC Beats workshops, Song in a Day programs.
Wow, since 2009, that's a long-term commitment. What kind of scale are we talking?
The scale, as the judges detail it, is genuinely massive. The workshops are described as inclusive, energetic, using tech to get young people expressing themselves lyrically, making music about their lives. Get this number. Almost 1,000 songs created at over 2,500 workshops since 2009.
1,000 songs.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's a huge amount of creative output he's facilitated. Who does he work with?
The judges' report lists a whole bunch of organizations, giving you a sense of the reach. Music Generation Cork City, the HSE, that's the health service, maybe linking to well-being programs, JCSP libraries, big youth groups like Forage and Youth Work Ireland, Youth Reach for Training, EPIC, plus hundreds of primary and secondary schools.
That's extensive, covering education, health, community, youth work.
And the report also highlights he runs the Cabin Studio in Knocknaheeny, Cork. It's described as a not-for-profit community music space, mentoring young artists, recording them, running workshops.
So he's built an actual physical hub for this work, too.
Yeah. And the judges' report doesn't just talk about the activity, it lists successes, awards and recognition for the songs created in these workshops. This isn't just participation. These kids are getting noticed.
Like what? What kind of successes?
Okay. The report mentions 2 wins at the Exhale Video Awards, which seem focused on youth health. Winners at a trend micro competition, maybe digital safety. A workshop participant called MC Tiny performing workshop lyrics on RTE's Late Late Toy Show.
The toy show. That's massive in Ireland. Huge exposure for a young artist from a workshop.
Totally. The list goes on. Finalists at the Song for 16 competition in the National Concert Hall. Performances by school classes at major venues like Cork Opera House, UCC, a Forage Ones to Watch Award, plus a performance on RTE's Ray Darcy Saturday Night Show for a music video called Reach Out, Speak Out.
Sounds like a lot of the work has social themes, too.
Yeah.
Health, speaking out.
Definitely seems that way. The report also lists multiple show racism, the Red Card Awards, Drugs.ie Awards. It mentions being featured on RTE Secret Millionaire and creating a song and video for a National Safer Internet Day campaign back in 2015, featuring young rappers from his cabin studio.
Man, this list from the judges. It paints a picture of someone who's not just making music, but actively using hip-hop to build community, empower young people, give them a voice. It feels like it's absolutely central to who he is.
I agree. It doesn't feel like a side project. And the judges confirm he's still making his own music, too. Working on new stuff under a production alias, Calabanks, recently did music for the Young Offenders movie and TV show.
The Cork Connection again.
Right. And 2 RTE junior TV shows, Body Brothers, and Urban Tales, plus a new GMC project is apparently in the works.
Okay, so GMC, deep Cork hip-hop roots, local pride, massive community involvement, youth empowerment through music, commercial hits, distinctive local style. Yeah. How does all that shape his approach to a music clash? What does it bring?
Well, it suggests his strength comes from connection, doesn't it? Connection to Cork, to his community, to the energy he fosters in those workshops. His music feels authentic because it comes from that specific place.
And in a clash, authenticity, connecting with the judges or the crowd, that can be crucial. Tapping into that Cork identity, like using the GAA anthem, that's a unique weapon.
Absolutely. And the draw against Red Cafe, who comes from such a different world, it suggests GMC's very local, witty, community-driven style was a really strong match for whatever Red Cafe brought.
Maybe that success in empowering kids, seeing their creativity blossom as the judges described, maybe that feeds back into his own art, gives it a certain depth or purpose.
Could be. It really highlights that competitive musical power can come from different places, not just fame or technical skill, but maybe also from deep community work and fostering others' creativity. Okay, let's switch continents now. Red Cafe, representing Guyana. Guyanese-American rapper, East Coast hip-hop scene. What's his story, according to the judges?
The report gives his birth name, Jermaine Alfred Denny. Born in Guyana, September 19, 1976. But a key moment highlighted by the judges was moving to Brooklyn, New York, when he was just 6 years old, raised in Flatbush.
Wow, 6 years old. Guyana to Flatbush, Brooklyn, that's a massive cultural shift.
Huge.
Yeah.
And the judges' report specifically describes Flatbush as a melting pot of Caribbean cultures, noting this environment shaped his musical inclinations, exposing him to all sorts of sounds and rhythms. That's where his musical identity started forming.
And the name Red Cafe, does the report say where that came from?
It does. Red was apparently inherited from his father. Cafe, the report notes, is believed to reference a stamp used on drug merchandise bags, reflecting a time before his music career took off.
Whoa. Okay, that's stark. The judges, including that detail, really hints at the kind of environment, the challenges he might have faced growing up.
Yeah, and the report is explicit about other challenges. It mentions early experiences, including a 4-year incarceration starting in 1992, profoundly impacted his perspective and actually fueled his passion for storytelling through rap.
So the judges present this difficult past, including prison time, not just as background, but as a core motivator for his music.
Exactly. It's framed as a defining part of his journey and his art. After his release in the mid-90s, the judge's report says he just immersed himself in the hip-hop scene on the East Coast. He co-founded a group, Da Franchise, got a deal with Violator Records, put out a single, We Gotta Eat, in 2000. So he was making moves, getting into the industry.
But then the group broke up.
Yeah, the report says they disbanded and he went solo. He navigated the whole major label system in the early 2000s. Arista, Capitol's Who Bangin' Records, Akon's Convict Music under Universal. He was definitely getting attention from the big players.
So why didn't he blow up with a major album then?
Well, the judge's report points to that classic industry problem. A full-length studio album remained elusive for him. Reasons cited are various industry challenges, including label disputes and creative differences.
Ah, the dreaded label issues. Happens to so many talented artists. Frustrating.
Totally. But the judge's material explains that despite this, he didn't disappear. He honed his craft in the underground scene, dropping mixtapes that garnered regional acclaim and showcased his lyrical prowess.
The mixtape circuit, that's where so many rappers build their rep, especially on the East Coast. Shows perseverance, right? Sticking to his guns lyrically, even without the big album push.
Definitely. His longevity, staying relevant in that tough scene without a major debut album, it really speaks to his raw talent, his lyrical skill, and how he connected with listeners through those mixtapes.
So what's he up to now, according to the judges? Is he still active?
Well, yeah. The report mentions he's hinted at the possibility of new music, even teasing collaborations with some of hip-hop's biggest names. It also notes his ongoing involvement in writing and producing ensures that his influence will continue to be felt. Fans are apparently still hopeful for that full-length album.
So, still very much in the game, maybe gearing up for something new. How do the judges summarize his impact?
They talk about his cultural impact. His journey from adversity to success resonates with audiences worldwide. His ability to adapt and thrive highlights his talent and resilience, making him a figure of inspiration for aspiring artists.
Okay, so Red Cafe's story, as the judges lay it out, Guyana to Brooklyn, navigating Flatbush, overcoming personal struggles including incarceration, resilience in the face of industry challenges, building a rep through lyrical skill on mixtapes. How does that background, so different from Barbara Craig's or GMC's, play out in a clash against someone like GMC?
Well, you'd expect his music to carry the weight of those experiences, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
That authenticity born from his specific life journey. His main weapon in a clash is likely that lyrical skill, honed in the underground, telling those stories.
Yeah. And that draw against GMC, it makes sense now, maybe. It wasn't just random. It suggests Red Cafe's raw, maybe gritty, resilient style, shaped by Flatbush and his struggles, met its match in GMC's deeply local, witty, community-powered approach. Two different kinds of strength, equally balanced in that round.
Exactly. And his perseverance, which the judges highlight, that's crucial. It shows he's an artist who doesn't quit, and that's a mindset you need in a competitive clash. It underlines that musical impact can absolutely come from articulating tough realities, and that consistent lyrical output, even via mixtapes, builds a real legacy.
Okay. The judge's report also gives quick mentions to the other artists involved. Eddy Grant, obviously, the icon who faced Barbara Craig. Jazzy, part of the Irish team.
Who we know from the report got joint second in that World Clash League performers competition.
Right. And Prezzaman, Barbara Craig's partner, when they won that same competition for Great Britain and Ireland.
Yeah, the judges didn't give the same deep dive on them as the main three, but their names place this clash firmly within that wider network of artists and competitions. It's all connected.
There's one other thing in the judges' report about Guyanese music on the world stage. Not directly the Clash team, but interesting context. Amrita Narain and this 195 project.
Oh, yeah, that sounded fascinating. What was it again?
According to the judges' report, it got a Guinness World Record for most nationalities to contribute vocals to a musical recording, a single song. They got one woman from every single one of the 195 UN-recognized countries to sing on it.
One woman from every country.
Yeah.
Wow. That's ambitious. A truly global collaboration.
Right. The report says the song debuted at the World Economic Forum in Davos, January 2025, and it uses the 528 hertz frequency, sometimes called the love frequency or associated with healing.
Interesting choice. And the message.
Amrita Narain described it, according to the judges, as a global anthem of peace, diversity, and collective resonance among women towards a more inclusive, gender-equal future. So, music with a very clear global social message.
Okay, so thinking about this 195 project alongside Eddy Grant's global legacy and Red Cafe's journey in U.S. hip-hop, what does this tell us about how Guyanese artists are making their mark internationally?
It seems like it's happening on multiple fronts, doesn't it? You've got artists like Grant and Red Cafe working within more established music industry channels, bringing their Guyanese heritage into different genres. Grant's reggae pop fusion, Red Cafe's East Coast rap shaped by Brooklyn's Caribbean vibe.
Right. And then you have projects like 195 using music for these huge symbolic global statements and record-breaking achievements. It shows Guyanese musical influence isn't just one thing. It's showing up in different ways on different platforms, from clashes to Davos.
Exactly. Diverse engagement with the global scene. Okay, so let's try and tie some threads together now based on everything in the judges' report. What does the specific clash, and especially these artist backgrounds, reveal about this whole Clash tour culture?
Well, first off, it's clearly competitive, seriously structured. The judges' report keeps using terms like International Clash Tour, World Clash League, Cups, Performers Competitions. They list results, points, champions. This isn't just a jam session.
No, it's formalized, like a musical sport. The judges detailing individual Clash wins and draws leading to a team score. It confirms that structure. Artists are strategizing, choosing tracks, performing specifically to score points against an opponent.
And the backgrounds. The artist, the judge's profile.
Yeah.
They're just incredibly different. Barbara Craig, academia, classical, electronic, math, art, GMC, cork hip-hop, community building, youth work, Red Cafe, Guyana to Flatbush, street realities, East Coast rap grind.
That diversity, which the judges' report really brings home, is maybe the most striking thing about this whole scene. It makes you ask, what actually works in this format? What skills, what experiences, what styles win clashes?
What does it even mean for artists from a conservatory, a community studio, and the Brooklyn streets to compete head-to-head like this?
Does Barbara Craig's win show the power of that unexpected fusion style? Did she catch Eddy Grant and the judges off guard?
And the draw between GMC and Red Cafe, does it mean those seemingly opposite styles, GMC's hyper-local wit versus Red Cafe's gritty lyricism, actually have equal competitive weight in this arena?
Looking at the results through the lens of their backgrounds, which the judges provide, it seems like success in a clash might come from really harnessing who you are, your unique story and skills, however unconventional they might seem.
Yeah, it pushes you to look beyond just genre or fame to see what makes an artist truly formidable in this specific context. The judges' report doesn't spell out the exact judging criteria.
No, it does.
But the language used, Clash Cup, Clash League, performers, it all implies specific rules, rounds, ways of evaluating who was more effective in that head-to-head moment.
We're limited by what the judges tell us, but it strongly suggests a sophisticated circuit where winning isn't just about being popular. It's about strategic musical choices and making that powerful connection right there in the clash.
It seems like it's a world where academic smarts, community roots, and tough life experience can all be valid, powerful weapons.
Okay, let's wrap up this clash update, drawing everything from the material the judges provided. We looked at the result, Ireland 3, Guyana 1, and the exhibition clash.
We broke down the specific matchups the judges detailed, Barbara Craig taking the win against Eddy Grant, and that really interesting draw between GMC and Red Cafe.
And crucially, we dove deep into those amazing, diverse backgrounds of Barbara Craig, GMC, and Red Cafe, thanks to the detailed info from the judges. Their journeys from composition and coding to community hip-hop and youth work to navigating the East Coast scene give so much context to their clash performances.
Yeah, those stories are as compelling as the results themselves.
The judges' report also gave a couple of pointers for staying updated, mentioning Grime Clash Radio for the latest news on the scene.
And noting that Red Cafe is hinting at new music, big collaborations. So these artist stories in this whole competitive world are definitely ongoing.
This Clash update, using the judges' material, really gives us a fascinating snapshot of a dynamic and, frankly, unexpectedly varied corner of the music world.
Absolutely, it's complex.
So as you think back over everything we've unpacked from the judges' report today, what stood out most to you? Was it the results themselves? Was it digging into these artists' really unique histories? Or maybe just the whole idea of this Clash format bringing such different talents together?
It is a lot to take in, especially how different their paths were to get to that same stage.
It really is, because when you consider these artists and the journeys the judges laid out from, the rigor of conservatories and math degrees to the impact of chart hits combined with deep grassroots community work to the sheer resilience needed to survive and thrive in the East Coast hip-hop game.
Yeah.
The report shows us something pretty profound, I think. It suggests that truly powerful musical expression, the kind that can win these high-stakes clashes, can genuinely come from almost anywhere, from the most unexpected, incredibly diverse origins.
It definitely makes you think differently.
So here's a final thought to ponder. If that's true, if great Clash talent can emerge from such varied backgrounds, what does that tell you about where we should be looking for the next great sound, the next dominant force in the world of music? Maybe not where we expect.
Certainly broadens the search criteria, doesn't it?
It really does. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for this Clash update.